In the United States of the 1930s, the sky was a place reserved only for those whom the military deemed worthy, and black Americans were not among them. Regulations insisted they lacked the intelligence, discipline, and temperament to fly combat aircraft, and these prejudices were written plainly into policy. For young black men who dreamed of flight, the cockpit of a fighter plane was as unreachable as another world. But as war swept across Europe and the nation edged closer to global conflict, political pressure forced the U.S. government to attempt something radical, to train African American pilots in a secluded base in Alabama. It was not announced with pride, but labeled instead as a controlled experiment, something expected by many to confirm their biases, rather than challenge them. Tuskegee Army Airfield stood deep in the segregated South, where racism was not merely social habit, but institutional structure. When the first trainees arrived, more than 1,000 of them, they did so under the scrutiny of officers who doubted they even deserved the uniform they wore. They trained with outdated aircraft and insufficient resources. Their failures amplified and their successes dismissed.
Every morning run, every maintenance drill, every classroom session felt like a test designed not just to measure skill, but to push them toward failure. Yet they persisted. Some fought the pain silently, while others refused to let frustration break their discipline. Over time, a spirit grew among them, a collective refusal to become the failure others expected. Their message was simple: we will rise, no matter what you place in our way.
Their determination produced results impossible to ignore. The 332nd Fighter Group and the 477th Bombardment Group were activated, forming an all-black aviation force, nearly 15,000 strong pilots, mechanics, navigators, armorers, ground crew, and support staff. It was a community forged not only by duty, but by shared struggle. But when they arrived in Italy in 1943 and 1944, they entered a new battlefield. Across Allied airfields, white commanders questioned whether they could be trusted with real missions. Some refused to assign them critical operations. Others segregated them physically, keeping their barracks apart, their mess halls isolated, their presence tolerated, but never embraced. The Tuskegee Airmen quickly understood that although they wore the same uniform, they were still expected to prove themselves every single day. And so they prepared for two wars at once, one above the clouds and one within the system that claimed to serve freedom. Then came the P-51 Mustang, sleek, deadly, and capable of escorting bombers deep into Germany. It soon became the defining weapon of the unit. Their red-painted tail fins emerged not as decoration, but as identity. As symbol bomber crews learned to trust with their lives, those crews began whispering a phrase before missions: if the red tails are with us, we'll make it home. The statistics that followed were astonishing. Hundreds of escort missions flown, thousands of bomber crews protected, and a loss rate far below most other escort units. The Tuskegee Airmen did not chase personal kill counts. They flew to protect. Their discipline, once assumed lacking, became the standard others were measured against. War threw them into some of the fiercest skies in Europe. They escorted bombers over the oil fields of Ploesti, over the industrial sprawl of Munich, and into the defensive heart of Berlin. They fought swirling dogfights against Bf-109s and FW-190s, pushing their Mustangs to the edge of their capabilities. And in one unforgettable encounter, they faced Germany's most advanced weapon, the Me-260 jet, a craft so fast many Allied pilots never even fired at it. Yet the red tails coordinated, tracked exhaust signatures, timed their turns, and succeeded in bringing several down. It was an achievement so rare that even skeptics were forced to reconsider their assumptions. Pilots like Benjamin O. Davis Jr., Lee Archer, Charles McGee, and Roscoe Brown became living proof that talent is not bound by color. But victory in the air could not silence the prejudice on the ground. Some generals quietly attempted to block promotions or diminish their achievements, insisting their records were lucky breaks. The injustice reached a breaking point with the Freeman Field Mutiny, when over 100 black officers were arrested for attempting to enter a whites-only officers' club. Their peaceful defiance exposed the contradiction at the core of America's wartime ideals, fighting for freedom abroad while denying it to their own servicemen at home. Yet their struggle sparked conversations that military leaders could no longer ignore. Meanwhile, Bomber Crews White, exhausted and dependent on the Red Tails for survival, made their stance known. Send the Red Tails. If not, we're not flying. It was endorsement more powerful than any official commendation. When the war finally ended, the Tuskegee Airmen stood not just as pilots, but as pioneers who had disproven an entire system of prejudice through excellence alone. They had escorted thousands home, destroyed over 100 enemy aircraft, and become an indispensable force in the air campaign over Europe. In 1948, President Truman ordered the desegregation of the U.S. Armed Forces, a transformative step made undeniable by the Tuskegee example. Honors followed in the decades ahead: Distinguished Flying Crosses, Legions of Merit, the Presidential Unit Citation, and ultimately the Congressional Gold Medal in 2007. But for the men who fought the war, the greatest reward came not from politicians, but from the bomber crews who looked them in the eyes and said, "We lived because you were there." Today, when visitors walk into a museum and see a P-51 Mustang with a red tail gleaming beneath the lights, they are not simply looking at a preserved aircraft. They are looking at defiance in metal form, a testament to men who entered a sky that was never meant for them and claimed it through skill, courage, and unshakable resolve. The Red Tails did more than win battles. They opened doors that had been locked for generations. They rewrote the limits of possibility, and they left behind a legacy that continues to lift new generations into the sky.